The distress call. Captain Maya Chen stood motionless on the bridge of the UES Vigilant, her eyes fixed on the pulsing notification on her command console. After checking it 3 times, she still found herself doubting what she was seeing. "Navigation, full stop," she ordered, her voice betraying none of the adrenaline now surging through her system. "Lieutenant Park, verify this signal. Run every authentication protocol we have." The bridge crew worked in intense silence. Through the massive viewport, only stars and the distant nebula they'd been mapping for the past month were visible. Nothing in their sensor range suggested the urgency that single blinking light demanded. Lieutenant Park looked up from his communications panel, his expression a mixture of confusion and concern. "Signal verified, Captain. But it's unusual. It's using an emergency frequency we've never documented before." "Put it on speakers," Chen ordered. "Everyone needs to hear this." The overhead speakers crackled to life, and a strange melodic voice filled the bridge. The translation algorithm struggled to convert the complex harmonics into human language, giving the message an eerie, disjointed quality. "To any vessels within range, our settlement on Lumina II is under assault by the Scorched Dominion. Our defenses will not hold. We are a peaceful species. Please, help us." The message repeated once more before fading into static. The bridge remained silent as the crew processed what they had just heard. "How old is this message?" Chen asked. "Based on signal degradation, approximately 36 hours, Park replied. "It was broadcast on a frequency band we rarely monitor." Chen approached the main tactical display. "Show me Lumina II." The display flickered, showing a small blue-green world orbiting a yellow star. Data scrolled alongside the image. "Unknown settlement, established approximately 15 years ago. RID Science Officer Reyes. Atmosphere is oxygen-nitrogen mix. Gravity approximately 0.8 Earth standard. Limited sensor data suggests a population of several million." "And the Scorched Dominion?" Chen asked. "Limited intelligence, Captain," replied Security Chief Abbas. "Reptilian species from a high-temperature, high-gravity world. Technologically advanced, highly territorial, and aggressively expansionist. They'd been pushing into this sector for the past few years." Chen studied the display thoughtfully. The Vigilant was a patrol cruiser, powerful for its class, but designed primarily for exploration and scientific missions. It was not equipped to intervene in an interstellar conflict alone. "How long would it take us to reach Lumina II?" she asked. Navigator Wu calculated quickly. "At maximum FTL, 28 hours, Captain." Chen straightened her uniform and turned to face her crew. "Open a secure channel to Earth Command, Priority Alpha." Within minutes, the stern face of Admiral Takeshi Yamamoto appeared on the main screen. Chen explained the situation concisely, her years of military training evident in her efficient report. "You're certain the signal is authentic, Captain?" Yamamoto asked, his expression unreadable. "Yes, sir. We've verified it through multiple protocols." "Who sent it? Which species?" "Unknown, sir. The translation algorithms couldn't identify the language structure. It doesn't match any in our database." Yamamoto was silent for a moment. "Captain Chen, you know our protocols regarding interventions in non-human conflicts, especially with unknown species." Chen nodded. Since achieving faster-than-light travel 70 years ago, humanity had encountered several alien civilizations. None had been particularly welcoming. Earth had been classified as a death world, a harsh planet that produced physically robust and potentially dangerous sentient beings. Diplomatic relations had been minimal and strained ever since. "With respect, Admiral," Chen said carefully, "this is a distress call. These people, whoever they are, have asked for our help, and we're in a position to provide it. The Security Council will need to approve any military action beyond our established protocols." Yamamoto replied. "Then I suggest you wake them up, sir," Chen said, her voice firm. "Because while we debate, An entire settlement might be wiped out. The Admiral's expression hardened, but there was a glint of approval in his eyes. "Stand by for orders, Captain. I'll have an answer for you within the hour." The transmission ended, and Chen turned back to her crew. "Prepare the ship for possible combat operations. I want all systems at full readiness." As the bridge crew sprang into action, Chen moved to the viewport. The stars seemed suddenly cold and distant. Humanity had spent generations believing they were alone in their corner of the galaxy, either ignored or actively avoided by more established species who feared their evolutionary heritage. "Do you think they'll approve the mission?" First Officer Lin asked quietly, joining her at the viewport. "They have to," Chen replied. "Not just for whoever sent that message, but for us. This is the moment we've been waiting for, a chance to prove we're more than what they think we are." The next hour passed in tense preparation. Weapon systems were checked, engines tuned for maximum efficiency, and the medical bay prepared for possible casualties. Chen reviewed tactical simulations, trying to predict what they might face when Admiral Yamamoto's transmission finally came through. "Captain Chen," the Admiral announced, "the Security Council has reached a decision. You are authorized to proceed to Lumina II and render necessary assistance to the settlement." Chen nodded. "Thank you, sir." Furthermore, Yamamoto continued, "the Council has authorized the activation of the Deathworlder fleet. All available combat vessels are being recalled for immediate deployment. You will rendezvous with them at Lumina II." Chen couldn't hide her surprise. The Deathworlder fleet was Earth's primary defensive force, named in defiant acknowledgement of the label forced upon them. It represented the bulk of humanity's military power. "The full fleet, sir." "The full fleet," Yamamoto confirmed. "If the galaxy wants to see what Deathworlders can do, we'll show them." His expression softened slightly. "The Vigilant will arrive first. Hold the line until reinforcements arrive, Captain." The transmission ended. Chen turned to her bridge crew, who were watching her with expressions ranging from excitement to apprehension. "Set course for Lumina II, maximum speed," she ordered, "and send a message to the settlement." She paused, considering her words carefully. "Tell them that help is coming." As the Vigilant's powerful engines engaged and the stars began to blur outside the viewport, Chen returned to her command chair. The ship accelerated to faster-than-light speed, carrying humanity's response to a desperate plea for help. The Deathworlders were coming, and the galaxy was about to learn what that truly meant. The gathering storm. The massive hangar bay of Luna Command buzzed with activity as thousands of military personnel rushed to prepare for deployment. Commander Elias Reed watched from a catwalk as his Marines loaded equipment onto the assault carrier Thermopylae. The ship's name, taken from an ancient Earth battle where a small force had held off a much larger enemy, feeling especially fitting today. "Impressive, isn't it?" a voice said beside him. Reed turned to see Lieutenant Commander Santos, his executive officer, looking out at the organized chaos below. "The entire fleet mobilized in less than 24 hours, Reed replied. "I've never seen anything like it." Below them, 42 warships were being prepared for combat. They ranged from nimble frigates to massive dreadnoughts, each representing the pinnacle of human military technology. The Thermopylae was among the largest, an assault carrier designed to bring troops and heavy equipment directly to a planetary surface. "They're calling this Operation Sentinel," Santos said, handing Reed a data tablet. "We'll be third wave, following Captain Chen's Vigilant and Admiral Zhou's battle group to Lumina II." Reed scrolled through the mission parameters, his expression growing more serious with each swipe. "They're sending almost everything we have." "The Security Council doesn't do anything halfway," Santos observed. A group of Marines jogged past, carrying heavy equipment packs as if they weighed nothing in Luna's reduced gravity. Each pack would have weighed over 70 kilograms on Earth, but the moon's gravity made the load manageable. Still, Reed knew his troops trained regularly in high-gravity conditions to maintain their strength and endurance. "Let's check on the mesh units," Reed said, pushing away from the railing. They took a transport lift down to the main hangar floor, where dozens of combat mechs were being loaded into the Thermopila's cargo base. The 10-meter-tall machines gleamed under the bright lights, their humanoid shapes imposing even when powered down. Sergeant Diaz stood at a console running diagnostics on the lid mech. She saluted as Reed approached. "Status report," Reed asked. "All 24 mechs are combat ready, sir," Diaz replied. "We've upgraded the hydraulics to function in variable gravity environments and installed the new thermal regulation systems." Reed nodded approvingly. The intelligence briefing mentioned high ambient temperatures on Lumina II, higher than Earth standard, but nothing we can't handle, Diaz said with confidence. The pilots have been running simulations for the past 12 hours. A loud clang echoed through the hangar as a supply crate was dropped. Reed turned to see a group of new recruits rushing to pick it up. "First deployment?" he asked Santos quietly. She nodded. "Most of Delta Company. They were scheduled to complete training next month. But now they'll get their education in the field." Reed finished. He walked over to the young Marines, who snapped to attention when they saw him. "At ease," he said. "What's your name, Marine?" "Private Rodriguez, sir," the youngest-looking one replied, standing straighter. "First time off-world, Private Rodriguez." "Yes, sir. First time out of the training sims, too." Reed looked at the crate they'd been carrying. Heavy armor designed to protect against energy weapons. "That equipment might save your life out there. Treat it with respect." "Yes, sir," Rodriguez replied, swallowing hard. Reed softened his tone slightly. "The Scorched Dominion doesn't know what they're in for. Remember your training. Follow your squad leaders, and you'll be fine." As Reed walked away, Santos fell into step beside him. "They're so young." "We all were once," Reed replied. "But they're stronger than they look. Every human is." They made their way to the ship's briefing room, where the company officers had gathered. The room fell silent as Reed entered. Maps and tactical displays covered the walls, showing the Lumina system and what little intelligence they had on the Scorched Dominion forces. "Ladies and gentlemen," Reed began, "in 4 hours, we depart for our first combat mission against an alien species. I won't pretend we know exactly what we're facing. Our intelligence on the Scorched Dominion is limited." He brought up an image of a Scorch warrior. The alien was reptilian with a stocky body clearly evolved for a high-gravity environment. Its skin was thick and leathery, with protective plates along vital areas, and its 4 eyes were set wide for maximum field of vision. What we do know is this. The Scorch evolved on a world with 1.3 times Earth's gravity and significantly higher temperatures. Their bodies are adapted for strength and heat resistance. Their technology is advanced, particularly their energy weapons and armor systems. Lieutenant Petrov raised his hand. "Sir, why would they attack this settlement?" "From what I understand, the Ceruleans, that's what the aliens are calling themselves in the latest updates, are peaceful. Territory, resources, old grudges, who knows?" Reed replied. "What matters is they attacked a civilian settlement, and we're going to stop them." He switched the display to show the Cerulean settlement on Lumina II. The colony is built primarily in and around a mountain range, with some underwater components. Approximately 5 million civilians, minimal defensive capabilities. According to Captain Chen's latest transmission, the Scorch have established orbital superiority and have landed ground forces. The officers studied the information with grim expressions. They all understood what was at stake. This wasn't just about saving the Ceruleans. It was humanity's first major military action in interstellar space, their first chance to show the galaxy what Earth was truly capable of. "The Vigilant arrived 12 hours ago," Reed continued. "They've been conducting hit-and-run attacks to disrupt the Scorch blockade, but they're outnumbered. Admiral Zhou's battle group will arrive 6 hours before us to establish orbital superiority. Our job is to land, secure the settlement, and push the Scorch off-world." He looked around the room, meeting each officer's eyes. The Ceruleans and the Scorch have one thing in common. They both think we're savages. The Ceruleans feared us so much they never even attempted contact until they were desperate. The Scorch have never encountered us in combat. Reed turned off the display. Today we prove one of them right and one of them wrong. We show the Ceruleans that humans fight to protect, not to conquer, and we show the Scorch exactly why Earth was classified as a death world. As the briefing continued, covering landing zones, communication protocols, and combat tactics, Reed felt a familiar calm settling over him. The kind of calm that came before action, born from years of training and preparation. 3 hours later, Reed stood on the bridge of the Thermopylae as the massive ship detached from Luna Command. Through the viewport, he could see the other vessels of the Deathworlder fleet taking position for the jump to FTL. Sleek destroyers, heavily armored cruisers, and support vessels moved with precision into a formation that would carry them across hundreds of light years. All systems ready for FTL, Commander, reported the helmsman. Fleet command signals ready for synchronized jump, added the communications officer. Reed took one last look at the Earth-Moon system, glowing against the blackness of space. For decades, humanity had been contained here, labeled as too dangerous to join galactic society. Now they were about to show the galaxy exactly what Deathworlders could do. Begin jump sequence, he ordered. The stars outside the viewport stretched into lines as the Thermopylae's powerful engines engage. The Deathworlder fleet, 42 ships strong and carrying the finest soldiers Earth had produced, vanished into the depths of space, bound for a distant world and humanity's first interstellar war. Deathworlders unleashed. The UES Vigilant dropped out of FTL on the edge of the Lumina system. Its stealth systems engaged to maximum. Captain Maya Chen stood on the bridge, watching the tactical display as it updated with real-time sensor data. Status report, she ordered quietly. 37 Scorch vessels detected in orbit around Lumina II, reported Tactical Officer Reyes. Their main fleet is concentrated around the planet's northern hemisphere, directly above the Cerulean settlement. Chen studied the display intently. Life signs on the surface. Science Officer Park examined his readings. Cerulean life signs concentrated in the underwater sections of the settlement and deep within the mountain range. Scorch forces are pushing toward the central habitats. The Ceruleans' defensive shields are failing in multiple sectors. And the Vigilant remains undetected. Chen asked. For now, Captain. Communications Officer Lin confirmed. But active scanning will reveal our position. Chen nodded. The Vigilant had been harassing the Scorch fleet for nearly 2 days, conducting hit-and-run attacks to disrupt their operations and buy time for the Ceruleans. But they were severely outnumbered, and their options were limited. Admiral Zhou's battle group will arrive in less than an hour, Lin added. Good, Chen replied. We've done what we can. Now it's time for the real show to begin. She looked at her bridge crew, noting the fatigue evident in their faces after 48 hours of continuous combat operations. You've all performed admirably. Let's give Admiral Zhou a proper welcome. 58 minutes later, space itself seemed to ripple as the first wave of the Deathworlder fleet arrived. 15 warships, led by Admiral Zhou's flagship, the UES Indomitable, dropped out of FTL in perfect formation, their weapon systems already powering up. The Scorch fleet reacted immediately, ships breaking orbit to form a defensive line. But they were too slow. The human vessels, designed for speed and maneuverability despite their size, were already moving to engage. The Admiral is hailing us, Lin reported. Admiral Zhou's face appeared on the main screen. Captain Chen. The Security Council sends its compliments on your initiative. Status report. Chen briefed the Admiral quickly, highlighting the most vulnerable sectors of the Cerulean settlement and the disposition of the Scorch forces. Well done, Captain, Zhou said. Join the battle line. The Indomitable will take point. Commander Reed's ground forces will arrive in 5 hours. We need to clear a path for them. The battle in orbit was brief but intense. The Scorch fleet, though larger, was unprepared for the speed and firepower of the human warships. On the Indomitable's bridge, Admiral Zhao watched as his forces methodically dismantled the enemy blockade. "Sir, unusual readings from the Scorch vessels," reported his science officer. "They appear to be radiating excess heat." Zhao nodded. "They evolved on a high-temperature world. Their systems are optimized for heat retention, not dispersion. In the cold of space, they're at a disadvantage." He turned to his tactical officer. "Target the propulsion systems. Let's see how well they maneuver when they're overheating." The strategy proved devastatingly effective. Within 2 hours, half the Scorch fleet had been disabled or destroyed, and the remainder were retreating to the far side of the planet. "Orbital superiority achieved," "Admiral," reported Captain Chen from the Vigilant. "Landing zones secured for Commander Reed's forces." As if on cue, the second wave of the Deathworlder fleet arrived. 27 more ships, including the massive assault carrier Thermopylae. On the Thermopylae's bridge, Commander Reed watched as the tactical display updated with battlefield information. "Looks like they started the party without us," Santos observed. Reed nodded. "Let's not keep the Ceruleans waiting any longer. Begin landing operations." The Thermopylae's massive bay doors opened, and dropships began launching toward the surface of Lumina II. Each carried a complement of Marines, combat mechs, and support equipment. The dropships streaked through the atmosphere, their heat shields glowing as they descended toward the designated landing zones. In the lead dropship, Reed addressed his troops over the comm system. "Marines, today we make history. The first human boots on an alien world in combat. Remember your training, watch out for each other, and show these Scorch what humanity is capable of." The dropships touched down in a cleared area just outside the Cerulean settlement's main entrance. The landscape was alien but beautiful. Crystalline rock formations rose around them, glowing with a faint blue luminescence. The sky above was a deep purple, with Lumina II's twin moons visible despite the daylight. Reed was the first to exit his dropship, combat rifle ready. The lower gravity was immediately noticeable. Lumina II had only 0.8 of Earth's gravitational pull. For humans accustomed to training in 1G or higher, it felt like wearing an enhanced mobility suit. "Form a perimeter," Reed ordered. "Mech units, deploy and advance to positions Alpha and Bravo. First platoon, with me to the settlement entrance." The combat mechs unfolded from their transport configurations, towering over the Marines at nearly 10 meters tall. Each was piloted by a specially trained operator, their movements fluid and precise despite their size. As Reed's team approached the settlement entrance, they encountered their first Ceruleans. The aliens were tall and slender, with translucent blue skin that seemed to shimmer with an inner light. Their 4 arms moved gracefully as they approached the humans cautiously. One stepped forward, a device in hand that appeared to be a translator. "You came," it said simply, its voice melodious even through the electronic translation. "We did not believe anyone would respond to our call." "I'm Commander Elias Reed of the United Earth Forces," Reed replied. "We received your distress signal. What's your situation?" The Cerulean gestured toward the settlement. "The Scorch have breached our outer defenses. Many of our people are trapped in the central habitats. Our warriors are few, and we cannot match their strength." Reed nodded. "We'll handle the Scorch. Get your people to safety." The first encounter with Scorch forces came minutes later. A patrol of 8 warriors rounded a corner, heavily armored and carrying energy weapons. They froze at the sight of the humans. Clearly, they had not been expecting new combatants. "Defensive positions," Reed ordered calmly. The Scorch recovered quickly from their surprise and opened fire. Energy bolts streaked toward the human positions, but the Marines were already moving. In Earth's gravity, they had trained to react with split-second timing. Here, in Lumina II's lighter gravity, they seemed to flow like water around the incoming fire. Private Rodriguez found himself diving behind a crystalline formation as energy bolts impacted where he had been standing. The training simulations hadn't prepared him for the alien nature of the combat, but his body remembered the movements. "Rodriguez, on your 3, shouted his squad leader. Rodriguez pivoted and fired, his rifle's advanced targeting system compensating for the different gravitational environment. The round struck a Scorch warrior center mass, penetrating its armor. The alien staggered but didn't fall. "They're tough," Rodriguez called out. "Aim for joint sections," Reed ordered, demonstrating by placing a precise shot that dropped a Scorch instantly. "Their armor doesn't cover everything." The skirmish ended quickly, with all 8 Scorch warriors neutralized and no human casualties. Reed's team pushed deeper into the settlement, linking up with other Marine units as they cleared sector after sector. In orbit, the battle had turned decidedly in humanity's favor. The remaining Scorch vessels were in full retreat, pursued by the faster human ships. Admiral Zhao watched from the Indomitable's bridge as the tactical display updated. "Sir, we're intercepting communications from the Scorch fleet," reported his communications officer. "They're confused. They're asking their ground forces what kind of species they're fighting." Zhao allowed himself a small smile. "They're about to find out." On the surface, the main Scorch force had consolidated around the central habitat complex, where thousands of Cerulean civilians were sheltered. Reed coordinated with Captain Chen and Admiral Zhao to develop a plan of attack. "Their command center is here," Chen explained, highlighting a structure on the tactical display. "Take that out, and their forces will lose coordination. But we need to draw their attention away from the civilians first," Reed added. "Lieutenant Santos will lead a diversionary attack here, while my team and the Mech units strike directly at their command center." The plan was executed with precision. Santos' diversionary force engaged the main Scorch contingent, while Reed's team, supported by combat mechs, approached the command center from an unexpected direction, through maintenance tunnels that the heavier Scorch warriors couldn't easily navigate. The Scorch commander, a massive specimen nearly twice the size of its warriors, was coordinating the defense when the first Mech units burst through the walls of the command center. The alien's 4 eyes widened as the 10-meter mechs towered over it, followed by squads of Marines moving with impossible speed in the low gravity. The commander barked orders, and its guards formed a protective circle. Energy weapons discharged, striking the lead mech. But the machine, designed to withstand far worse on Earth, barely slowed. Its pilot, protected within the armored cockpit, returned fire with the mech's integrated weapon systems. Reed led his Marines in a flanking maneuver, using their superior mobility to outmaneuver the Scorch guards. The battle was intense but brief. Within minutes, the command center was secured, and the Scorch commander was surrounded. "Your forces are defeated," Reed told the alien through his translator. "Surrender now, and no more of your people need to die." The Scorch commander studied Reed with all 4 of its eyes. "What manner of creatures are you?" it demanded. "No species moves as you do. None fight with such adaptation." "We're humans," Reed replied simply. "From Earth." Recognition flashed in the alien's eyes. "Deathworlders," it hissed. "The myths are true." Throughout the settlement, the pattern repeated itself. Human Marines, trained in Earth's higher gravity and harsher conditions, moved with startling speed and resilience. The combat mechs, engineered to function in Earth's punishing environment, proved nearly unstoppable against defenses designed for standard galactic norms. Within hours, the remaining Scorch forces had surrendered or retreated. The Cerulean settlement was secured, and humanitarian aid was flowing in from the human fleet. In the settlement's central chamber, a formal meeting took place between human representatives and the Cerulean Leadership Council. Captain Chen and Commander Reed stood beside Admiral Zhao as the Cerulean elder approached. "We have no words to express our gratitude," the elder said, its luminescent skin pulsing with emotion. "For generations, our people have avoided contact with yours, believing the warnings that humans were dangerous, unpredictable. Today, we learned that sometimes One needs dangerous allies. Admiral Zhou nodded. Earth has been isolated too long. Perhaps this is the beginning of a new understanding between our peoples. And others. The elder agreed. News of what happened here will spread quickly. The galaxy will know that humanity fought not to conquer, but to protect. As human forces helped the Ceruleans rebuild and medical teams treated the injured, Reed found himself standing with Private Rodriguez, looking out over the alien landscape. Did you ever imagine your first deployment would be like this, Private? Reed asked. Rodriguez shook his head. No, sir. I thought we'd be patrolling the outer colonies, maybe dealing with pirates. Not making history. Reed smiled slightly. Get used to it. After today, everything changes. The Deathworlders are no longer content to stay in their corner of the galaxy. In orbit, Captain Chen stood on the Vigilance Bridge, watching as relief ships arrived from Earth. The view screen showed a transmission from Earth Command. Celebrations had broken out in cities across the planet as news of the victory spread. What happens now, Captain? Lieutenant Lin asked. Chen looked out at the stars, seeing them not as distant and cold, but as full of possibilities. Now, she said, we take our place in the galaxy, not as outcasts or curiosities, but as protectors. The Deathworlders have arrived, and we're here to stay. As the Deathworlder fleet maintained its protective formation around Lumina II, word of humanity's actions spread through subspace communications to distant worlds. Species that had once feared or dismissed humans now found themselves reevaluating their assessments. The galaxy was changing, and at its center stood the unlikely heroes from a planet once deemed too harsh for civilized life. Earth was a death world, and its children had